So one thing that people were concerned about when they said about how it's online and how there are very few, or there are no human NPCs, is the story. How is the story going to work? How are quests going to work? Are they even going to have quests? And the good news is that yes, it has quests. And it has a story. It has a storyline. We do know there's a main storyline, and it based kind of around the Scorch Beasts. So that's good. You can try and go through the storyline. You can do it with your friends, I'd imagine. But they said that it isn't kind of crazily linked up. It isn't ironclad. Say someone went onto a quest, it's not gonna be like, what are you doing? You've got to go and do this quest with them because they're in your party of 4 people. You've got to go and you've got to do this with them. They said that, you know, you can have one person over here, he's doing some quests. You can have one person over here, he's just exploring the landscape. One person who's back at home building. You can have one person who's out just killing things. You can have people doing different things. So that's good. And I suppose you'll be fighting the Scorch Beasts. And the Scorched themselves. Now, they have also said that this game has the most creatures that they've ever had in a Fallout game. It has the most kind of monsters. And I guess you would have to. When you don't have human NPCs, you have to have that kind of thing. I don't know if they count the Scorched. I think the Scorched are just kind of all ghouls. There aren't that many various things. But they have these strange creatures. I remember they showed a mutated frog or something. And obviously you have the Scorch Beasts. You have these different crazy creatures. I think there was something called like... it was like the monster or something. I don't know. I'll try and find a picture of it if I can. Stick it up. That you'll be able to fight. But there is one monster that I'm looking forward to. Because of what they've said about it, and that is from the West Virginia. Did I mention that? Oh my god, I didn't mention that. I'll talk about that in a second. It will be from Folklore, and that is the Mothman. The Mothman's interesting. They said about how it will start off in different stages. It will start off by, you'll see it in the distance, it will kind of follow you around, kind of stalk you, and you'll work your way up, and eventually I suppose you fight it. But that first stage of it being in the distance with its 2 glowing eyes, I love the sound of that. One of the coolest things I remember from a video game was in Half-Life 2 when you could spot G-Man in these little hard to kind of see areas watching you. I thought that was so cool. The idea that you're walking along and you're kind of like, you could be running to the next bit, but if you just look up and you look at that one balcony up there, there's someone watching you. That kind of thing appeals to me. I like that idea. Really adds an element of kind of creepiness, and I like that. So that'll be really interesting. You know, you're talking with your friends, you're joking around, maybe you've got like a campfire at your camp, and you're just kind of getting ready to go out on an expedition, and then you see in the distance there are these 2 eyes watching you, and you're like, oh my god, guys, what the hell's that? And they turn around, and they see it, and they go, oh yeah, what the hell is that? You will start running towards it, and then it like runs off when you get close or something. So that would be really interesting, seeing how that works. So the Mothman is something that I'm looking forward to. Now, to talk about the world. Now this is interesting. This is really interesting. The world, as I let slip, it takes place in West Virginia, in America. Which is a very kind of a very altitude heavy kind of zone. That's very much not the name for it, but it has lots of hills and it has lots of valleys and it has lots of dips. It's very uneven. It isn't that flat, and that's going to be really interesting, especially for the height advantage of, say, a sniper versus someone with a pistol or, God forbid, a melee weapon. You'd be so screwed. So that'll be interesting, although I guess they can't really fight you if you don't want to, so that's good. But you have this massive state of West Virginia, and they've said that it's 4 times the size of Fallout 4, and that is a lot of space. That is a lot, and you might be sitting there thinking, well yeah, when you have Excuse me. Jesus. When you have loads of players in one location, you want it to be big. You don't want them to be trying to like push past each other. But they've also revealed that they're going to be 24 players. So you think 4 times the Commonwealth with 24 players, that's like 6 people per Commonwealth. Like, you're going to be so spread out, especially when you're in groups that go up to like 4. The groups are going to be so spread out because of, assumingly your groups will be close together. So there'll be even fewer other people. You're going to have such a large amount of distance between you and the next people that they really were correct when they said that it's going to be really special to see someone. So don't worry if you're thinking that this is like an MMO where you're going to be running into people, pushing past people, people will talk to one NPC, you'll walk up, you'll talk to the same NPC, get the same dialogue, get the same quest, move on, and like that. Because that was something I was never a fan of in MMOs, the way everything was very, very linear. But rather, you'll very rarely meet someone else. So it will still seem kind of with the same lonesome feeling of the Fallout games, which is something I quite like. I quite like that idea. They've also said that it's very colourful. It's a very colourful game in comparison to Fallout 4, and especially I'm assuming to Fallout 3 in New Vegas, because Fallout 4 was more colourful than they were. So that would be really, really fun to see. I'd like to see what Bethesda does with that. I don't know how they're going to get it to run on console, because obviously on PC it all depends on kind of your components, right? If you're there sitting there with like a 1080 Ti and like an i9 and like 64 gigs of DDR4 RAM and an SSD and all that, you'll be fine. But if you're sitting there with a hard drive, and like me, you've got like an AMD A10 really unknown processor and a 1050, I really doubt that we'll be able to run it, because if you look at the videos, you look at the screenshots, the game looks phenomenal, graphics wise. The distances look great, the lighting looks great, it really looks colourful and natural, and all the trees are there and all the grass is there, and there's a lot of foliage, and that is very CPU heavy, so it's really going to depend on your hardware as to how you'll be able to run it. And I have no idea how they plan on getting this all to run on the Xbox One and the PS4 as well, because as I said, with PC you can just kind of keep upgrading your hardware until it runs well, but with console they're gonna have to optimize the hell out of it, especially in a game that has online PvP. Like, the base minimum is going to be a solid 30 FPS. You don't want to ever drop beneath that when you have PvP. Even against monsters, you don't want to have it ever drop beneath 30, because 30 is kind of the minimum that you want for that. So that's going to be strange, the way that works. Now, they said about with PvP, there is VATS. VATS is still in the game, and if you've played Fallout before, you'll know that VATS slows down time and lets you select different parts of an enemy or creature, and kind of you'll have a chance to hit those parts depending on your perception stats and your skills, etc. But how is that gonna work? Can you just like hit your button, which is, if it's the same as Fallout 4, it'll be Q on keyboard, and I think it's left bumper on console, but I don't know. Will you just be able to hit that and it will zoom in on a player that you didn't even really see was there? You'll be able to just lock on to their head and fire, and it will be completely based on just, oh, I've got more perception. No, it doesn't work like that, at least anymore. Now it will still be based on your perception, but they said that you won't be able to select individual body parts, and it also will not slow time, because obviously how could you in an online game? You'll have just one guy in like the bottom left of the map who's constantly VATS, and then everybody will have to play the game in slow motion. It would never work. So it's going to be real time, and it will only show the entire body. I don't know, I'm assuming you can still fire. They didn't say that that had been removed, and that's quite a key part of it. So I'm assuming you can still do that. But it does kind of prove, like, what happens with that. That's going to be something interesting to find out. And there's not much we can really talk about with it until we see more gameplay regarding it, or we play the game ourselves. I'm assuming that the beta will be coming out at some point, probably in October. So I guess that we'll find out then. So that will not freeze time, or it will not slow time. So I'm just looking at the list now. Yeah, so nuclear bombs, staple of the Fallout franchise, of course. I mean, that's the storyline. But in Fallout 76, you can now utilize this nuclear bombage for yourself. You can now just go like, hey, I just want to, let's just blow this guy up, and you can fire a bomb. But it's not as easy as that. You've got to find these different small pieces. You've got to find these bits of a password, I think it is. It's bits of a code. You can get your friends together, you can search for it, and eventually you'll find the code. You can then go to a nuclear facility, you can put that code in, and then you can choose somewhere on the map to fire this nuclear bomb. Now, they have said about how it isn't just for griefing. If you happen to choose to land it on someone's base, their base will be destroyed. They'll have to get the junk and materials to repair the base. But the main use is that once you bomb an area, that place will actually be different. It will actually be bombed. It will have like a crater, there will be radiation everywhere, things will be destroyed, which is something I really find interesting. Like, how is that going to look? Are the buildings going to be all destroyed and broken and bits of brick lying about? How is that going to work? Because surely they cannot choose for everywhere, but from what we see, you actually move a circle along. So it isn't like select points. So you can choose, you can attack someone's base, or you can drop it nearby and then go over there to collect all of the special irradiated junk materials that will only spawn if you've dropped a nuclear bomb. So that'll be a very interesting thing to see, and I cannot wait for someone to be sitting at their camp enjoying like some mole rat meat or something, and then in the distance they'll just see a nuke go off. That would be so cool to see in the game. They have said about how also there is a photo mode where you can take pictures with your team or by yourself, and you can like do different actions. So you could take a photo of you like standing around a deathclaw that you and your friends just killed, and you could all be doing like different poses, and then that will show up as little Polaroids during your loading screen, which they've said will happen very rarely, only if you fast travel and when you die, etc. So I guess the idea is that everything is like one interior kind of thing. I guess that when you go through a door, it will just swing open, there won't be a loading screen, which would be interesting. And I guess that that makes sense, because you don't want someone to be fighting you and then they'll just go through a door. Especially on PC, if they just go through a door and happen to load faster than you, and then you click on that door, and then they just click on it again and just leave, and they can just run off because they can load faster than you. So it makes sense for them to open the door and it actually just swing open, which would be something really interesting, because obviously Skyrim, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, they all used these loading screens between interiors and exteriors, etc. So that would be really cool to see. So I'm thinking, with this photo mode, if you take a picture, like, what if you look at that picture and you see a nuke in the background? Like, either in the sky about to hit, or the actual atom cloud. Like, you would be so, not atom cloud, mushroom cloud, you'd be so worried, you just turn around like, wait, what? And then see that coming towards you. It would be scary. So that concludes about the nukes, that concludes about the photo mode. Now, a lot of people were worried when they said about randomized perk packs, etc, and about caps and things being in the game, of an online game, that there are going to be a lot of microtransactions. That was something they were really worried about, and that's something I was really worried about. I hate microtransactions. Things like shark cards in GTA. It's all well and good for like YouTubers that show off the new DLC so that you can decide whether or not you want to grind to buy it. But just like having you've worked for like 4 hours in order to get 1 million, and then someone just buys it because they happen to have more money in real life, is just what we go to games to avoid. We go to games so that we can live these alternate lives. We don't have to worry about people that have kind of more money just being superior. That's like kind of the point. It's a world in which our real lives aren't really meant to affect the games. And so people were really worried. They were like, oh, I don't want Fallout to become another series that's been ruined by the appeal of loot boxes and buying online things and just buying your way through the game. And that was a very real problem. People were worried about that, and I have to agree. I really don't want that. That sounds terrible. But lo and behold, Bethesda and God Howard, being the best that they are, said that the only buyable things with real money are cosmetic items. So, thank God, they said that you will not be able to buy perk packs, etc. So that's really relieving. And that, I think, combined with the 24 player limit, is going to make this a really good game. I'm really hyped for it now. I feel like it's a lot better than when I first heard about it. Because when I first heard about an online Fallout game, my mind immediately jumped to the Elder Scrolls Online, and I really didn't like that. It just felt so annoying to be going up to a quest NPC, and then you have like 4 other random people come up and do the exact same thing, and then you would all head off to do this same quest, and you'd get there and it would be like, oh, kill these things, and then they'd kill them, and you'd be like, oh, well, I didn't kill them, so you have to like walk away, wait for the things to respawn, come back, and then they're being killed again. And so it was very kind of annoying for me, especially since I didn't have anyone to play it with. I was playing alone, as ever. But they said in this that, you know, low player count, so it's going to be a lot better regarding quests. Now quests, I don't know if it's solely done this way, but they said about how it isn't often given out by an NPC. I don't know, it might be that it is often given out by an NPC, I didn't quite hear. But they said about how a quest can start when you approach a location. So I think there's a town in West Virginia that has a celebration regarding masks, and when you get there, it will start a quest about this, and you can go around, you can find the masks, and you can find all of these really interesting things. So that would be really cool to see. So cosmetic items are the only DLC, only thing that can be bought so far, from what we've heard, and I hope they keep it that way, because I understand it's hard to keep the servers up, etc. But I would rather just not do the game than have this kind of stain upon the Fallout series. So DLC as well. People were talking about DLC. How is DLC going to work? Is there going to be DLC? And they've actually taken a very similar stance to DLC as Rockstar have with GTA 5. And they've made it so DLC is free. Everyone will get the DLC. And when you're doing an online game, an online only game more specifically, that is a really good idea. Having DLC for free is the best idea with that, because and I think this is what made Rockstar realize it. If you have certain people that have the DLC and you have certain people that don't have the DLC, there are going to be problems if they're in the same lobby, and if you put them in different lobbies, it kind of defeats the point of online, because what if your best friend has the DLC and you don't have the DLC and you can't afford the DLC? What are you going to do about that? You can't, and you can't play with your friend. But say, for example, if GTA still worked the way it used to, and your friend had a DeLorean, and you didn't have that DLC, what would you see? Would you still see the DeLorean? You'd have to download the DLC packs anyway and just not have access to them. That's not right. And people abuse this feature in GTA by having, like, I believe there was a glitch with the female characters. You'd use this summer beach DLC, and then you would uninstall the DLC after you equip the items, and then your character would be like topless. And they began to realize, oh god, this is really hard to implement, especially if we start adding vehicles and DLCs. And so they switched over to DLC is free, everybody gets it, it is a requirement to download it. And that is what Bethesda have decided to do with Fallout 76. So I'm looking forward to that. You know, if they introduce a new DLC, everybody has access to it, your friends will have access to it, you'll all use it, and so it will basically just seem like the game got bigger. It's good. I'm looking forward to that. So, just as a final thing, quick recap that the game is being released on November 14th, and it seems good so far. I'm looking forward to it. If you have any kind of more in-depth worries about it, leave it in the comments and I'll try to address it in the next video, the next kind of recording. So yeah, should be good. I already talked about the story, man, I can tick that. Sorry, I've got a notepad with very basic kind of setup. Yeah, I think that's everything. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed, please do leave a like and subscribe, and maybe try and help me choose a name for the podcast, because I was trying to think of something video game related, but I couldn't really think of one. Or at least one that wasn't already taken. So, it'll be interesting. I was thinking like the Joffy cast or something, you know, just mix in our name. But, I don't know. I'll decide. I'll try and figure it out. So, thank you guys for tuning into this, and stay tuned for the next episode, where I'll be talking about any questions you guys have regarding this, and Red Dead Redemption 2. That's up next on my list. I want to try and do a bit more research on it. I want to try and do a bit more editing as well, regarding this. So thank you guys, and I will see you in the next audio session, I guess. Well, it is a video, but only because it has to be. Yeah, anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed it, have a good day, and goodbye.